So, if you're watching any of the news coming out of D23, you know that there's been a lot of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker stuff coming out. This is great because we haven't seen anything about the movie since Star Wars Celebration in April, where they premiered the teaser trailer. So finally, Star Wars fans have something to obsess over and analyze, which is what we're going to do today. I've got a frame-by-frame breakdown of the special footage that came out of D23. Very exciting footage. This is a lot of fun to watch. It has got me very, very excited about seeing the film. So the video opens up with some familiar footage of scenes throughout the Star Wars saga that we already know. Some of you might have noticed that you can see Mace Windu in one of the shots. You see Darth Maul. So there's stuff from the prequel era. There's stuff from the original trilogy. There was a little bit of stuff from Force Awakens and Last Jedi. This is all playing while narration by Luke is happening, which is more or less the same narration as the narration that overplays the teaser trailer from April. More or less, we've given you everything we know, and 1,000 generations of us live in you now. It's kind of a passing the torch statement to Rey, which I think he's talking to Rey. First shot of this brilliant video is Rey and the gang, Finn, Chewie, 3PO, kind of trudging through the desert. I've looked at the stills of this. I am fairly confident in saying that the sand planet that they're on is the same sand planet that Rey does her Matrix Reloaded style gymnastics over the TIE Silencer. So I think it's safe to say that this happens in the same place, probably earlier in the film. In this shot in the video, you can see the Falcon in the background. It would appear as if they're looking for something, or they're trying to get some information. The camera pans around, and they seem to be approaching this giant collection of people. There are flying kites. It's very colorful. It looks to me like it might be some kind of market, or like maybe a moving city. If any of you guys are Game of Thrones fans, it looks like it could kind of be like a Khalasar kind of thing, where maybe it's a tribe of people that never stay in the same place for very long. Second shot, Leia, just a really nice plane shot of her on a jungle planet, looking amazing, looking like the Queen of the Universe. It has me wondering a little bit about her costume. So is that CGI? Because I know that this is taken from unused footage from Star Wars The Force Awakens, and from what I can remember, she wasn't wearing that costume. So I'm not sure if this is CGI or how many of the assets on her are computer generated. I would probably use a lot of computer generated stuff to make it look like it wasn't straight out of Force Awakens. Next shot is a collection of resistance forces, and it's kind of a huge callback to all of the ships that we know from the original trilogy. You see an X-Wing right there in the front. You see some A-Wings, some B-Wings, Y-Wings. You see a blockade runner. And then there's another ship that you can't quite see what it is just because of how the shadows in that shot work. It looks to me a little bit like the Ebon Hawk from Knights of the Old Republic. I'm not really sure. Like, of course, it's not the Ebon Hawk. I mean, it might be. I'm not entirely sure. It just kind of looks, it has that like general shape. It's fairly clear that like the X-Wing, the blockade runner, and the unidentified ship are kind of like the hero ships in this shot. So whoever's running the scene here character-wise, they're probably in these ships. Directly after that, a breathtaking display of First Order ships, or what I think might not be First Order ships, because they're old school Star Destroyers. They've made quite sure to make sure that you know that the First Order in the new trilogy isn't exactly the Empire. Their gear is updated. They've got new TIE fighters. They've got new stormtroopers. And this is just a collection of what seems to me like old Star Destroyers. Now, I'm not sure if it's a trick of perspective in this shot, but it would seem that some of these Star Destroyers are different sizes. A couple of them seem a little bit bigger. Now, of course, this just could be the way the perspective in the shot works. They could all be the same size. Because in the next shot, which is seems from the same scene, all these Imperial Star Destroyers are kind of traveling in a grid. And I'm not really sure why a mobilized army would travel like this. It seems a little dangerous. It doesn't seem to have a lot of military sense to it unless they're protecting something, or maybe it's a super overpowered invading force. I don't know why they'd want to cover the entire sky. It just seems like a weird choice for all these Star Destroyers just to be kind of like very close quarters flying around, because if one of them is destroyed, it would seem like it would kind of cause a chain reaction, kind of like in that scene from Last Jedi when they destroy one of the bombers and it takes out like 2 other bombers because they're traveling so close to each other. Next shot of Finn and a new character called Jana in the cockpit of a ship from, I think, the earlier shot with the Resistance forces. Maybe they're in that unidentified ship. They could be also in that blockade runner. If you look closely, the pilot seems to be wearing like an old school fighter jumpsuit, like an X-Wing pilot fighter jumpsuit, and the white gloves. So it could just be that the Resistance is very reluctant to let go of their rebel past. Maybe they just have the same gear. Or it could maybe be another group of people that haven't been in play in the story yet. They're from the Rebel Alliance. If you look really closely, to me, it seems like you can see one of those earlier mentioned B-Wings out of the cockpit window right behind them. And I'm a little curious about this head thing that Jana is wearing. It doesn't look like you can see through it, but it looks like it has a little notch for her nose, like it's meant to be pulled down. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. It's not entirely important to the shot, or maybe it's not important to the character, but I'm kind of curious about what it is. Let me know what you think, by the way. If you have an idea, go ahead and drop a comment on the video, like the video, share it with your friends. We live for this stuff. We live for new footage. We live for sharing it with our friends and talking about it even with strangers. We want to connect with you about Star Wars. So if you've got some ideas, put it in the comments. We're happy to talk to you. Our channel just started, so I mean, we've got nothing but time to respond to every comment. Next shot, probably the second most surprising shot of this footage, which is C-3PO with some like dangerous looking red eyes. Now, I've got some ideas on this. The set looks like he's in a laboratory, kind of like he's being worked on. So it is my theory that he has been retrofitted with a combat protocol that isn't perpetually active. So maybe it's dormant, could be activated if he's like doing a spy mission that goes wrong. Now the question I have is, what side has made this improvement to him? Is it, the bad guys? Do they have him set to kind of turn on his friends? Or is he being sent in by the good guys, by Leia and by Rey, to find out some information? And he's got this hidden protocol that will help him get out of trouble if he gets caught. It could just be an aesthetic choice by 3PO. He is known to enjoy his red-colored appendages. He had a red arm in Force Awakens. He just might want red eyes. Who knows? Next shot is of what appears to be some riff on a super weapon. The scale of the destruction makes it look like it's a little bit smaller than we're used to. It's not like planet destroying. It does seem to be wiping out quite a bit of space. I don't see a target that they're shooting at. So I don't know if they're testing it, or maybe if there's something underneath those mountains, if there's like a complex or something that they could be trying to destroy. It isn't like readily apparent who owns it. I mean, does this belong to the good guys? Like, have they finally had the sense to build a weapon that could like take a lot of shit out? Or is this just the Empire or the First Order kind of, doing their general, we need a big weapon to destroy big things and make people scared. Next shot, Rey in the jungle. This looks like the same jungle as the teaser trailer with Leia. Also, from the earlier shot from Leia from this video, seems to be the same jungle as well. She's throwing her lightsaber right through a tree, and if you look closely enough in one of the frames, it would appear as if she's throwing it toward a training remote a la Star Wars A New Hope on the Millennium Falcon. So it could be that she's on this jungle planet for training. She could be there with Leia. That's kind of an interesting question. Are they there together? Is Leia helping her with her training? That seems a little less likely because Leia herself was never trained as a Jedi. Is Rey kind of hanging out there doing some training with Force Ghost Luke, and then Leia comes later to pick her up for something? Like maybe they haven't seen each other in a while. They could explain why in the teaser trailer, when Rey sees Leia on the planet, she gives her a hug, and she's got this, she kind of has a tear and everything. It could be that they haven't seen each other in quite a while. This could be toward the beginning of the film. Next shot is a gorgeous shot. Kylo Ren stalking off like he does from his TIE silencer. He's on an ice planet with, it's just a very beautiful shot. The way the planet works and the lighting. There's a little bit of lightning. He turns his lightsaber on, which is interesting because it looks like he literally just got out of a ship. So I don't know if this means he's landing right next to someone and he's ready to kick someone's ass, or maybe he just likes turning his lightsaber on. Maybe he needs it for light. Kylo and Rey fighting in this expansive body of water, what appears to be on Wreckage. It could be Wreckage. I know when we were taping our video on this last night before we saw the footage, we were talking about maybe it was like Death Star Wreckage. It clearly is from the same sequence that the new film poster is from. So it could be Wreckage. Maybe it's a bridge. It looks like it could go somewhere. I'm not sure why they would stand on it in the middle of a body of water and fight there unless it was taking them somewhere. It seems very unlikely that they would just find a random spot out in the ocean to do their sword fight. Now, this last sequence, or this last shot, is probably what everyone is talking about. We hear a line from Palpatine. The journey nears its end, and some weird sound things, some Vader breathing, and then you see Rey in this black cloak, black outfit, with this double-bladed lightsaber. It appears to be on a hinge. It reminds me a lot of, if you watch the Clone Wars, General Krell. He's the same species as Dexter Jettster, has his two double-bladed lightsabers. And if I am not mistaken, I believe that both of his kind of work on a hinge like that. Because the hilts are so big, it'd be easier for storage that way. Now, the thing that strikes me about this, and I'm not sure how many people have noticed this, but there's something very familiar about that lightsaber. Not the way that the hilt looks, but the way that it sounds and the way that the blade looks. It sounds very similar to Kylo Ren's lightsaber, and the blade looks a lot like Kylo Ren's lightsaber. It's kind of spitting sparks. It seems like it's from an unstable power source, or maybe it was kind of built without all the instructions needed to build it. Makes me wonder maybe if that lightsaber has Kylo Ren's kyber crystal in it. If so, that raises about a billion other questions. You know, where's Kylo Ren that he doesn't have his lightsaber anymore? Has he turned to the light side? Have they switched spots? I think that one of two things is likely about this scene. The first is that it's kind of a vision, very similar to the Force vision that Luke has on Dagobah in The Empire Strikes Back. Or it could be that they're kind of riffing on this idea of clones. I know they mentioned clones in The Force Awakens a little bit. The technology is obviously still around, so this could be another copy of Rey. Perhaps that's what Rey is. She could just be from a line of copies of genetic material that were made for a specific purpose by some, malevolent force. Right as the video is kind of calming down, and this is kind of fun for us to speculate on too, because the friends that I do this series with and myself are professional musicians, like orchestral musicians. I conducted an orchestra for 10 years, and we notice music things. And right as this video is kind of winding down, you hear a part of Rey's theme played by the vibraphone and the celeste, which are kind of metallic, glittery instruments. It's a little bit slower than you're used to hearing it, and it does sound pretty ominous. So it kind of signals to me that the focus of this is around Rey, where it should be, because she is the new main character, and her story is the one that matters now. Let us know what you think in the comments. Like the video. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll be on more stuff as we kind of get this organized more. Let us talk to you guys. Let us open up a dialogue, and I'd love to share some ideas with you, and we will see you later.